I think that variance that we saw in the previous World Cup, that's not going to be there because the pitches in North America, for the most part, and even in the Caribbean, were not that great. We're expecting flat belters for the most part in India and Sri Lanka, perhaps more turning wickets. But I think that we will go back more to the mean. And I do feel that the powerhouse and established test nations or the more established associate nations will really rule the roost in this World Cup. And I'm not expecting a lot of upsets that we usually see. But, these are fateful last words. In every T20 World Cup, something manic does happen. And I'm looking forward to this one for sure. It should be fun.
Welcome to our 2026 T20 World Cup preview. I'm Sadi Raza. With me is Ahmed Zulfikar and then Mustafa Siddiqi from DawnNews English. Program is called Over and Out. We'll be previewing the T20 World Cup today, and during the World Cup, we will be coming to you every day, looking back at the matches and looking ahead to matches. Welcome, gentlemen. Hope you guys
Hello.
are well.
Thank you very much, Doc. Always a pleasure to be alongside you.
No, thank you for doing this. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's just set up this T20 World Cup. So it's to be held in India and Sri Lanka. What was interesting to me is how many teams are there in this World Cup?
Mm.
It's 20 teams. Sorry, 20 teams. Do you guys think that's too many teams? Let me start there.
We have the likes of Scotland and Nepal and UAE. They're pretty competitive nations. Maybe Namibia, maybe on a bit of a downslide, but of course they'll be playing in their. Uh, Pardon me. They've been in ICC events in the past, so I think 20 teams. It's okay. Maybe 16 was a decent competitive bracket, but plus four, you always want to expand the game. US have been playing really well. Canada, Oman. Oman got hammered the last time. But I think 20, I think the T20I format has enough appetite for at least 20 teams at a World Cup event.
Also just think it's a World Cup. I just feel like if it's 16 or even like when in the ODI World Cup, it when the pool shrunk down to 10, it didn't really. It's supposed to be representative of the world. It's supposed to be big. It's supposed to be everyone. It's supposed to be a collective event where we all come together and celebrate this great sport we love watching and love getting annoyed by certain Pakistani batters about.
Get into it then. Four groups of five each, and top two will go into Super 8. They've already sort of numbered everybody, so we sort of can guess the Super 8
We,
format.
we already know a few results as well.
We, we do already know a few results, but let's start right at the top. Defending champions, India. There has never been a back-to-back T20 World Cup winner, and there has never been a host team to win a T20 World Cup in their own home. Can India do it again? When I look at their team, there's really only a couple questions. It's, is Ishan Kishan gonna open with Abhishek Sharma? Will it be Sanju Samson? And then really just that last bowler between Akshar Patel, Kuldeep, or Harshit Rana. But otherwise, it's a very well set up team. They have depth, they have strength, they can bat, they can bowl. Your thoughts on Team India as the defending champions?
They're absolutely packed to the gills, aren't they? I mean, they have world-class batters right from number one till number eight, and they're flexible as well. Some other teams cannot quite boast of that flexibility. You can get Tilak Verma to bat at three, you can get Ishan Kishan to open. Apart from Abhishek Sharma, everybody else does not have a fixed position in the side. Akshar Patel can bat at three if you like. They've got depth, they've got quality. The spin is second to none. We've seen what the likes of Varun Chakravarti, Kuldeep Yadav, Akshar Patel have already proved at an ICC event in the Champions Trophy. They were brilliant. They'll be playing at home. It's going to be blue all over the stands, immense home support. It's all about on the day whether Team India does deliver. Otherwise, they're firmly hot favorites to retain their title. And like you mentioned, Doc, they could be the first team at home to win a home T20 World Cup, and they're odds-on favorites, to be quite honest.
I just think having Abhishek Sharma up top just completely transforms your team because you're able he's the most dangerous batsman in T20 eyes today. It's just it's as
Mm.
simple as that. The only thing that I could think that would, you know, place a hurdle to them is I just Kuldeep is out of form, and Kuldeep has usually been their match winner in the middle overs, right? And like yes, they have Baran Chakravarti and they have Akshar Patel, But like Kuldeep has always been the that guy to go to in previous tournaments where he would always get the main come and take out the main partnership essentially.
And to that end, their depth, even if you get Abhishek Sharma out, then you have a Nishan Kishan, you have a Tilak Verma, you have Sky, you have Hardik Pandya. It's just the depth of talent that they have. And of course, they know how to play T20. They pressure situations are not new for them. So staying in that group, in Group A, we come to Pakistan. They're just on the backs of an impressive 3-0 series defeat of Australia on home ground. Couple of questions there still. You saw in those three games they had a different opening partnership with Saim Ayub. I think in two of the three games there was Sabzada Farhan, but then they had Fakhar open. But for the most part, it's a lot of the positions are fairly set with Saim, Salman Agha. Couple questions. Do you play Usman Khan? Do we do Khwaja Nafi? I think Shadab, Nawaz, Shahin Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah, and Abrar are otherwise set. Your thoughts on the decisions and the route that they will take?
Well, Usman just got a half century against the Aussies, a pretty fine innings. So I think he'll be the number one option for now. Of course, both are pseudo wicketkeeper batters, not really frontline wicket keepers, but Pakistan have, pretty much set their stall that we tried Mohammad Haris, it didn't work. So Usman Khan is the second best option. Saibzada Farhan is a third, option out of left field to be a wicketkeeper batter as well, but that seems unlikely. I think what we've got is what we've got. Babar Azam, well, he's having to further sacrifice at bat at number four. As Salman Ali Agha proudly announced that he's going to be batting at number three in a post-match interview to maximize the power play. So I like that Mike Hesson, has the ability to make the tough calls, and nobody can rest on their laurels. Haris Rauf, who could imagine even 6 months ago that he would be completely jettisoned from the Pakistan T20 World Cup squad? We are going spin heavy. We've got a very, very good spin contingent. Saim Ayub has been brilliant. Osman Tariq has come out gangbusters. And we know Abrar Ahmed's quality as well. Plus, you've got Shadab, a rejuvenated Shadab Khan back, who's batting beautifully. So thankfully that pressure on his bowling is well and truly off. He's pretty much a fourth or even a fifth option at the moment behind Mohammad Nawaz. So because we're playing in Sri Lanka, because we're playing at the Premadasa Stadium and the SSC, I think tailor-made conditions for our spinners to really dominate. It's all about our batters stepping up when it matters. I think anytime we post anything beyond 150, 160, Pakistan should be in the game. And in the run chase, well, you'll need somebody to anchor it. Hopefully, Saim Ayub has been batting really well. Very true wickets in Lahore, to be fair, against a B string Aussie bowling lineup. But of course, there is no Mitchell Stark, there is no Pat Cummins in this World Cup. Anyways, it's only Josh Hazelwood and the likes of Ben Dwarshuis, and we've played these lads plenty of times before. So that is pretty much the Aussie bowling strength, pretty much at full strength for the most part for what they have announced for the World Cup. So fingers crossed. Of course, Pakistan have already gifted or forfeited or boycotted, whatever you want to call it, one game to India. So there's no margin for error. But I do think in those conditions, the likes of the Netherlands, the US, Namibia, I think Pakistan should be fine to make it at least to the Super 8s.
Let me ask you a quick question on
Yeah, sure.
Pakistan before we slide over to Australia. Is there any chance you see them removing Babar at the number four? I know he had a half century, but he didn't have a boundary in the last 10 overs of that game. I think the rest of the batters in that third ODI scored at almost a 200 strike rate combined. Your thoughts on Babar's position in this squad?
So I was actually going to I was going to talk about this. If Babar is going to play in T20Is, he has to open. But the problem is we have just much better openers now. And the only place that we haven't really sorted out right now is our middle order, and we have fitted him there. But we need a person who's been able to play spin well. And while Babar used to
Hmm.
be able to do that and bash spin, he just can't do that anymore to that extent. And especially since we're playing in Sri Lanka. Like we have a giant advantage of playing all our matches in one ground. We're not traveling, we're staying in one area. We will know the ground in and out by the end of the World Cup. You need to maximize your opportunities there, and I just don't know if Barber batting at four or even like, if I'm being very honest, I have always been a proponent that for the last couple of years that Babar does not have a place in the T20I team, and I still believe that.
It'll be interesting to see what they do.
But the
Let's hop
thing is,
over. Go
Doc
ahead.
and Mustafa, the way we collapsed to spin at the Asia Cup twice to India. First game, okay, it was a write off. Second, it was game in hand. If we had gotten 160, 165, 170, it would have been a one sided game. Our bowling had that firepower. So if Babar can just be that so-called anchor for the post power play overs just to keep a partnership going and just keeping wickets in hand. We saw any new batter that was coming in, Mohammad Haris completely succumbed to the pressure. Hussain Talat could not deal with it, etc., etc., etc. So if nothing else, if bare minimum, if all he does is occupy one end and get us to safer passage around the 15, 16 over mark when we can really look to aggress if we lose early wickets, I think even that kind of role, Babar Azam would be okay at number 4. That's just my opinion.
No, and I think that's the role that they're looking for him to do, basically, be that anchor. Let's hop over to Group B. That's Australia, Ireland, Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, and Oman. It's an interesting Australia team coming. You don't have Pat Cummins. It's really Travis Head and Mitch Marsh at the top, and then just a bunch of all-rounders have sort of been mixed in, Green, Stoinis. Interesting mix of bowlers as well, because Australia both have to contend with playing in India, but also in Sri Lanka. So you do have Cooper Conley, Kuhneman, so on and so forth. Um, they're not the same Australia that, from 10, 15 years ago. But with Travis Head and Mitch Marsh, they can basically bat you out of a game at any time. Your thoughts on Australia? Probably almost certainly should be a semifinalist. But chance to win it all, it's not vintage Australia.
Absolutely, they have a similar problem to Pakistan that all of their batters, for the most part, apart from you could say perhaps Tim David or Mitch Owen, who have trained into finishers, everybody else is a top order batter. So it's just a carousel who will open, and obviously you're going to go with Head and Marsh. So everybody else, Cooper Connolly, Matt Short, Stoinis, they all prefer to bat in the top order if they're to be really useful. Glenn Maxwell is, of course, on a bit of a slide as well. Is there are some fitness concerns as well, but Australia are always Australia when it's a knockout game, always dangerous. They still have the firepower with the likes of Stoinis, Maxwell, Mitch Owen, and of course Glenn Maxwell. Pardon me, Tim David as well. And of course, Travis Head and Mitch Marsh will be key if they get going. If they can really pile on the runs, then Australia cannot be discounted. But their bowling does look particularly weak, with only Hazelwood and Zampa, you would say, are the really fearsome prospects. But Australia will be in the mix as per usual. But I think when it comes to the crunch encounters, maybe some other sides have superior batting and bowling advantages over them, especially playing in the subcontinent.
Mustafa, Sri Lanka in that group, do you see them making any noise?
I personally think that Sri Lanka is going to come first in that group. I think they're the better team than Australia, and because they have explosive batters up front and they have a great spin contingent. And just because it's also in Asia, spin is going to be extremely important there. So I personally think they're probably going to win out in that group. I think they're probably going to come first there.
Put them in the Super 8 team round with Pakistan, because they've already slotted in. They've sort of pre-slotted these teams regardless of what position they come into. It's an interesting way of doing it. Let's go to the next group. I call this the football group because it has England, Italy, and Scotland.
Hang on, Doc. I have to address this point you made because the ICC has been very firm about the immense amount of fairness involved in the process of making these World Cup seedings and groupings. So I have a bone to pick with you there. How dare
Well,
you?
they've already said it's Super 8 Group 1 is India, Australia, West Indies, and South Africa, and Super 8 Group 2 will be England, New Zealand, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. And if someone else
I
sort of
fancy my
replaces
chances
them,
in that group, to be honest.
yeah, and if somebody else qualifies, they're just going to slot in into the team that they replace. But these are locked in. So Group C,
It's hilarious.
the football group with England, Italy, and Scotland. All three teams are going to be in the FIFA 2026 World Cup. But of course, this is cricket, so also Nepal
Who isn't?
and the
That's the question.
that's true. Nepal and the West Indies. England, that top order with Salt and Ben Duckett. They have a lot of IPL experience. Harry Brook, as captain this time, captaining the side, he can certainly win a game. Jafra Archer and Adil Rashid, a lot of IPL experience. White ball team hasn't been the best, but I say you count them out basically at your own peril.
They're an outstanding batting side. I mean, the names you listed and the immense amount of experience they have playing in subcontinental conditions speaks for itself. But it's all about the motivation, really, because when it's an Asian World Cup, when they're away from home, there is that post Ashes hangover as well. So I'm not sure that England would be bothered. But let's see. You can certainly not count them out. The last time they were in an Indian T20 World Cup, they went all the way to the final. And of course, they had their hearts ripped out of their chest by a certain Carlos Brathwaite. And certainly a very, very dangerous side indeed. They can bat you out of the game, but the bowling, I just feel that it is a bit vulnerable. Adil Rashid will be key, but certainly if their batting delivers, then England are in the game. If they do not, then I think the bowling will get tapped around in Indian conditions as well. So that is their weak point overall. But England would certainly be in the mix. They'll need some luck to go all the way, but they certainly will be contenders.
Carlos Brathwaite, Mustafa, what do you think of the West Indies' chances in this T20 World Cup?
I never know what we're going to get from the West Indies. They're very much the Pakistan of the West. And like it's the T20s and they've always had power and they still have somewhat good fast bowling. So I do think they'll make some noise and like the way we have all seen it, they've kind of all the groups have kind of been decided already, but like we can't really do anything so I think they'll probably get to the Super 8s.
Then the last group, a little bit of a tricky group with Afghanistan, New Zealand, South
Mm.
Africa, and then of course Canada and the UAE. Afghanistan sort of going into this World Cup, quietly more than anything else. But we have to start with South Africa. Of course, they were the runners-up last time around. They're the current World Test Championship holders. Aidan Markram is captaining them. A lot of firepower. Brevis and Bosch are ex-fantastic T20 players. Can this be the year for South Africa? Easy.
Well, on paper, it certainly is possible, especially with the way Quinton de Kock has been rejuvenated on his international comeback, especially in the Asian leg of their recent tours. He was brilliant in Pakistan in the white ball format. He was outstanding in India. I believe he got 100 as well in one of the T20I games, or he got a 90 odd, and he was looking in sparkling form, looking like vintage Quinton de Kock. They got fortunate with some injuries actually benefiting them, with the likes of Ryan Rickelton, Mumbai Indians regular opener, coming back into the side, and Tristan Stubbs, pardon me, who just played a match-winning hand in the SA20. They were out of the initial 15, but they have managed to sneak their way in, and that has just bolstered their top order a bit, a middle order as well a bit. Of course, there is no Heinrich Klaassen anymore. God knows why he has retired from international cricket from this stage of his career, considering he is one of the most elite T20 players in the world, plus has a home ODI World Cup coming up. But they still have plenty of firepower in their batting. The bowling, it's a bit. I don't like it for these kind of conditions. A lot of right arm seamers. Okay, you've got Rabada, you've got Nokia, maybe Mapacha can give you, and yeah, Marco Janssen can give you that left arm angle. But on flat pitches, I think they could get hammered. A lot will depend on Keshav Maharaj. Of course, no Tabriz Shamsi anymore in their World Cup compositions. So that puts a lot of pressure on the spin bowling, which is not too much to talk about in the first place. And it's a tricky group with Afghanistan, with the Kiwis, and of course my home team, the UAE as well. We're not going in there to make up the numbers. Maybe we can cause a shake-up or two. Canada as well were pretty decent in the previous World Cup as well. So this is certainly the group of death. And if South Africa slip in any of their key games against the Black Caps and the Afghans, then I think they might be in trouble.
Mustafa, can New Zealand or Afghanistan sort of put together a run? I mean, we just saw New Zealand. They do
Uh,
well in ICC tournaments, but you saw them get destroyed by India.
so I agree with AZ, where I do think Afghanistan and New Zealand are going to be the two coming out of this group, just because New Zealand are a very smart team. They know how to game plan for conditions, and they have very deadly batsmen in Tim Seifert and Conway. And Afghanistan are built for these conditions. They've been playing in these conditions. uh, th- There's a reason why they beat why they did that to us in the World Cup in 2023. They are good in these conditions, and they have good powerful batsmen up top as well.
Mustafa, I have with Afghanistan is it's very reliant on three batters basically. Gurbaz, Sadiqul Atal, who's done well in recent times, and of course you've got Ibrahim Zadran. So their batting is very, very, very top heavy. If these three don't really step up consistently, especially in these big games, then that middle order, Kareem Jannat and the sorts, they're not going to get the job done. I don't think even Kareem Jannat is even in the team anymore. Mohammad Nabi a bit long in the tooth. Of course, we know about his spin prowess, no doubt. But I just feel that it's a very top heavy batting order and it could come unstuck against the likes of South Africa and, of course, New Zealand. New Zealand, Finn Allen is a name that Mustafa failed to mention. He's been in unbelievable form in recent times. We saw him in the Big Bash. He took everybody to the cleaners. He took the Indian bowlers to the cleaners as well. I think he might be the man. He was brilliant in 2022 as well. 2024, rain basically ruined their World Cup hopes. But I think the Black Caps will come back roaring, and it's going to be Afghanistan or South Africa certainly competing for second in that group. I'm really backing the Black Caps to bounce back well in this ICC event.
Course, with all the T20 franchise cricket played nowadays, none of the players in any of the World Cup or the World Cup teams are naive to the conditions in India and Sri Lanka now. It should be a fascinating World Cup. I do think at some point it's a question of who will India play in the final. It's pretty wide open outside of India to me. But let's come to the one other thing that cropped up this week.
Yeah,
Decision by
small
the
detail.
Correct. The decision by the Pakistani government to basically forfeit the match against India on February the 14th. Um, Thoughts on that? I know we briefly touched on that in a previous video, but your thoughts on that decision? Certainly, from a financial perspective, it was helped by the fact that PCB was able to make money by selling two new franchises in Hyderabad and Sialkot, and of course the Multan franchise is currently up for auction as well. So that's a you should get around about 15 to 18 million a year over the next 10 years per year for the next 10 years, basically out of those. So that allows them to make such decisions. Although from a contractual perspective, there is a members participation agreement that all the teams have to sign when they play an ICC event, but there is a force majeure clause in there, which basically allows teams to uh, boycott or forfeit a match based on a government decision or the natural events, so on and so forth. But government decisions are in there. It's what allowed India to basically request a hybrid model in the Champions Trophy. For each of you, your thoughts on that decision?
Well, I think we've seen it in 1996 when West Indies and Australia refused to travel to Sri Lanka, citing safety concerns or whatever. And we've seen it in 2003 when it was England who refused to play Zimbabwe. I remember there is precedent of governments not allowing their teams to take on X, Y, and Z. And India themselves have heavily relied on this excuse in the past when it comes to requests for bilateral tours between Pakistan and the Indian cricket team. So it's basically just a dose of their own medicine. And like you mentioned, it's a very pertinent point that PCB are receiving a massive windfall, at least $13.5 million per year extra from the two new PSL franchises they've sold. And of course, Multan Sultan should bring in a decent amount of cash as well, maybe in that range, maybe less. So perhaps they have planned for this contingency that there will be financial penalties or financial sanctions being posed by the ICC. But PCB can simply raise their hands and say, hey, our central government has given us an order. We cannot go against that. And that's as simple as that. There is nothing the ICC or any kind of world court can do about it. And of course, this is tit for tat for India ruining our tournament in the 2025 Champions Trophy. They insisted they're not coming to Pakistan. They insisted on a hybrid model. We bent over backwards to accommodate them. We ruined our own marquee event that we had gotten after so long, after what, 29 years since the 1996 World Cup. So Pakistan were well within their right, and we saw the shenanigans during the Asia Cup, how heavily politicized those two encounters became. That nasty taste in the mouth it left before the game, during the game, and even after the tournament itself. So I think Pakistan were well within their right to finally play their nuclear option, so to speak, and really leverage their hand in an India versus Pakistan contest at the ICC level. We are seeing a ridiculous international reaction coming in from non-actors who are no skin in the game, so to speak, trying to put pressure on Pakistan. But Pakistan finally showing that they have something in their sleeves as well. They have the leverage as well. Maybe it's just a ploy. Maybe they're just using that leverage to extract something from the ICC for now or for the future. But I'm glad that Pakistan is finally, it should have been done a lot earlier. We should not have had the Bangladesh kind of question in the background, motivating us to take this stance. But it's good that Pakistan has finally said enough is enough. India, you do not have the privilege of playing us, and all these Indian companies and sponsors certainly do not have the privilege of financially benefiting from this contest with the way it's being conducted in the with the vitriol attached to it for the last 2 or 3 years.
Mustafa, your take?
This is a very obvious ploy by the ICC to try to create a opposition bloc in the ICC. And the other nations, right, when 1996 happened and 2003 happened as well, right, when you had the boycotts there, it was very that was only done because the government said for security concerns. Yes, while the government is citing security concerns, it's very obvious this is retaliation in protest for Bangladesh. Essentially, India has bullied us and world cricket around for the last 20 years. And finally, somehow, some way, this little country, or this little, we can't call Pakistan little, but like, we finally stood up. One of the first, like, we're one of the only countries who stood up, and which literally right now it's only us and Bangladesh in one block and everyone else in the other. And morally, I am very like, morally, I think it's the right thing to do, even if it was not for the if it was for ulterior motives, if you want to call them that. But I just there can't be financial sanctions, because this happened in 1996. This happened in 2003. The points were forfeited. They forfeited the points. Australia and West Indies forfeited it to Sri Lanka, and what was it? England to Zimbabwe and New Zealand to Kenya in 2003, and there were no financial sanctions. So if there is a precedent of it, there not being financial sanctions, there should not be a if we should not be having financial sanctions today. If unless the ICC decides that it's slighted, we have slighted India, and that's why we deserve financial sanctions.
And
I
the
do
hilarious
think
thing is the outrage is coming primarily from the Indians who are always barking, who have always been saying, "Why do we play Pakistan? Why is this going on? Look at what they did to us. This, da da da." I don't want to get into the political and all the extremist side of it, but we're all well aware of that. And when that decision has been taken out of their hands, they're still angry that we are refusing to play them because they never had the moral gumption themselves to boycott this fixture because of the heavy financial incentives allowed. So it's quite ridiculous that you've got what you wanted, what you say publicly that you wanted, that Pakistan should be removed from the game, this, that they need to be sidelined, this, that. But when it actually comes push to shove, they're the ones whinging the most about this fixture not taking place. It's hilarious.
In a in the most Gen Z way, I'm going to say this: the entirety of Indian cricket Twitter is shook, essentially. Uh,
I do think it's not the worst thing in the world if they don't play. I think you need some cooling of heads. If you go 2, 3 years without playing, you don't want the ugly scenes that happened in the Asia Cup. Sports should sort of rise above petty politics, and that's all it is from both sides. So if they don't play each other for 2, 3 years, let the financial ramifications be what they will. But it'd be nice to go back to the way things used to be with a certain closeness between the players, and so on and so forth. It wasn't too long ago where Bumrah had a daughter, and the Pakistani team was going over there and giving him gifts and stuff and so on and so forth for that. So it'd be nice. Um,
I
Final
would like
thoughts
to add
on.
one. I would
Go ahead.
like to add one thing. It also, our net run rate won't take a hit, so that's also another positive.
Yeah,
Well,
there's no
you're
real
assuming we were going
downside
to lose.
because you were probably going to lose anyway, so there is no real sporting downside
Oh,
to it.
come on. Against the likes of Usman and Abrar, we had it in the bags, dog. Come on. And Sahibzada Farhan belting Bumrah all over the park. Come on.
Easy as ever, the optimist. Wrapping up, final thoughts from you guys. For me, it should be a very good World Cup. T20, anything can happen. I think there is a clear number one team. I think everyone else has flaws. And then if once you get into a one game final, as we saw in the ODI World Cup, with India and Australia, anything can happen in a one game match.
I think that variance that we saw in the previous World Cup, that's not going to be there because the pitches in North America, for the most part, and even in the Caribbean, were not that great. We're expecting flat belters for the most part in India and Sri Lanka, perhaps more turning wickets. But I think that we will go back more to the mean. And I do feel that the powerhouse and established test nations or the more established associate nations will really rule the roost in this World Cup. And I'm not expecting a lot of upsets that we usually see. But, these are fateful last words. In every T20 World Cup, something manic does happen. And I'm looking forward to this one for sure. It should be fun.
So yes, we know there's flat pitches. We know that. If there ever going to be upsets, it's going to be in this format because it's the most volatile. And like that's why we always have some kind of upset in a T20 World Cup. And because you don't really have to be the best team to win a T20 World Cup like you have to do in Test. Like in Test, you have to be outright the best team to be to win a Test match. In T20s, you on paper could be the worst team, but like just because of certain things went your way, one batsman got hot at the right time, or one your star bowler decide got hit all around the park, which has happened all over the time. Bumrah just got hit for 54 runs in one of the T20Is against New Zealand. Like anything can happen, and like it's that's like the fun. Like that's the fun of a T20 World Cup. Like Italy, could upset someone and get to the semifinals, and like we wouldn't.
I'm glad we did not get them in our group. Otherwise, something was certainly going to happen.
I can live with USA. Up एक दफा तो like the USA has already killed us one time. I can live with them killing us again. So like Italy would have been a bit too much basically. I can't lie.
Thank you, gents. That's it from over now with Dawn News English. Join us as the tournament starts, and we'll bring you daily content. Thank you very much.